Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris here on France 24. William Edwards joins me now here in the studio with the business news. Hello, William.
Hi, Laura.
Right, so we're going to start off, as we do so often, with the Eurozone and its latest woes. And the latest thing, in fact, is concerns over the state of Germany's economy. We're not often saying that.
Well, of course, because Germany has for so long been the one country in the Eurozone, or one of the few countries in the Eurozone that has continued to see good growth, solid growth. But a group of German think tanks are now saying that that is likely to fall away in the next year or two. And if the Eurozone debt crisis continues to worsen, Germany could even see itself heading into recession.
It may be the motor of Europe, but even mighty Germany isn't immune to the Eurozone crisis. The latest forecasts are gloomy, just 1% growth for next year. For the think tanks behind the latest report, that's half what they'd initially tabled. And the reason is clear.
During next year, we will see that economic activity improves, but overall, the euro crisis is having a negative effect on Germany's economic growth.
Despite the downturn for the single currency region, Germany had stayed relatively buoyant in the past couple of years. But now Berlin risks being dragged down by the Eurozone's struggles.
The declining economies in some Eurozone countries, of course, have an impact on us, as up to 40% of our exports are in the Eurozone and up to 60% in the European Union.
Angela Merkel went even further, vowing to support the domestic market with possible tax cuts to help boost the rest of the Eurozone. Up till now, Berlin has been Europe's keenest proponent of austerity, and that break didn't meet with full approval from Merkel's own government.
There are suggestions that the European debt problems can be resolved if Germany loosens its purse strings. But that's not the case. The problem cannot be solved without reducing fiscal deficit and proceeding with structural reforms.
Germany's top two may differ on the immediate strategy, but they do agree on one thing. As Merkel herself insists, Germany can show the way, but it's up to the rest of the Eurozone to follow.
Well, meanwhile, doom and gloom does seem to abound because Greece is also, of course, struggling and things seem to be going from bad to worse there.
Yes, their unemployment figures out on Thursday showed that they've now broken through the 25% barrier when it comes to unemployment, as you can see there. Meanwhile, the IMF's Christine Lagarde has been saying the country, in her opinion, needs an additional 2 years to meet its bailout targets. That's come under fire, actually, from Wolfgang Schäuble, the German finance minister, who's criticised that, saying austerity is the answer. However, on the same day as this bad news came out about unemployment, another blow for the Greek economy. Coca-Cola Hellenic, which is the second largest Coke bottler in the world, they have announced they're going to move out of the country. They don't just make Coke in Greece. In fact, they sell it in 28 countries. Hence, it is the biggest company on the Athens Stock Exchange. Well, not for much longer. They're moving to London. Their headquarters is moving to Switzerland for lower taxes. They are keeping some of their bottling plants in Greece. So the one bright point in all this is that there shouldn't be too many job losses, at least.
OK, well, given those rather gloomy outlooks, how are the European markets opening up this Friday?
Well, Lorna, you'll be unsurprised to hear that they are opening down this morning across Europe. One bit of bright news, I suppose, there. Figures out this morning showing that Volkswagen sales, they are up 18% so far this year in China. Very healthy there, but as you can see, the rest of the market's not taking on any cheer from that. Worries about Spain continuing to dog the markets. Let's take a look at how things have closed in Asia as well. And there was a bit of a bounce back on the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, which was due to the Chinese sovereign wealth fund saying that they plan to invest more in Chinese banking stocks. Big losses for SoftBank Mobile in Japan, down 16% after news that they plan to invest in Sprint, a network in the US. Obviously, investors not liking that one.
OK, well, those Asian markets haven't been helped, have they, by more bad news from the Japanese economy?
Certainly not. No, the government has downgraded its forecast for the Japanese economy for the third straight month. It says it's too early to say if it's going to go into recession, but growth is certainly set to slow further. Of course, those worries it has include the Eurozone crisis, a general global slowdown, and in particular a slowdown in China is a worry. And of course, those bilateral disputes with China over those disputed island territories, which both countries claim, that has caused real difficulties with a trade between the two countries. OK, well, William, you do seem to be bringing us rather a lot of doom and gloom in this bulletin so far. Is there any good news around in the business world today? Well, let's scrape around a bit. Analysts are holding on to one figure in particular that came out on Thursday. They're hoping that actually exports from China may not be so bad as we may have thought. Container shipments for September, which is a good sign of exports, they were up by 10%, higher than analysts expected. So perhaps things aren't going to slow down with quite such a bump. And actually, the IMF has been saying at their biannual conference, bi-yearly conference, which is going on at the moment in Tokyo, that they don't expect the Chinese economy to come down with a bump.
Okay, well, hopefully we will be seeing some more good news on that score at least. But we're going to move to here in France now, and because Thursday saw news of another factory closure, this time for Technicolor. The decision by the electronics company is the latest in a series of headaches for the recently elected socialist government here, which had pledged to cut job losses.
Anger in Angers as staff at Technicolor set fire to the boss's furniture. Just the latest casualties of the economic downturn. The factory's 350 employees are set to lose their jobs manufacturing TV components.
We knew it would come to this. That was their goal. They want to sling us all out onto the street with nothing.
The site in Western France is the company's last in Europe, and it's not the only firm facing upheaval. Thousands of people marched nationwide earlier in the week in protest at increasing numbers of layoffs. Hundreds of Peugeot workers even clashed with police at the Paris Auto Show on Tuesday. The automaker's one of the worst hit in Europe, with the announcement of 8,000 job cuts in July. It's all left the government scrambling to keep up. French President François Hollande ran on pledges he'd end cutbacks and keep struggling sectors afloat, putting 2 mothballed blast furnaces on the political map during his campaign. Despite the government ordering steelmaker ArcelorMittal to keep them open or sell last month, the firm shut them down anyway. The French Parliament's looking at passing a new law within the next 3 months. It'll ban the closure of profitable firms before looking for another buyer to take them over. For Technicolor workers in Angers, however, that move may come just a little too late.
Now, France's former president, we're going to stay here in France, has been taking up something of a lucrative sideline, hasn't he?
Yes, now it was his first public engagement since he left office 5 months ago. This is Nicolas Sarkozy, of course. He was talking to BTG Pactual, that's a Brazilian investment bank, and that was in New York that he talked. And there he is, apparently sporting a bit of a 3-day stubble, but I don't know if you can see it very well there, but that was apparently his part of his new look. And he gave his views on the Eurozone crisis, unencumbered, of course, by elected office. And he says, well, he didn't tell the voters, maybe like he used to in office, that it would be over in a flash. He said it's still got another 2 years to go in his estimation. And he said, well, without the EU and without integration such as the euro, war is inevitable in the European Union. So, I mean, that's strong stuff.
A bleak outlook there. And he's joining, of course, joining Tony Blair and Bill Clinton, who've all made quite a lot of money.
That's right. Tony Blair gets 250,000 euros per speaking engagement, apparently, and Bill Clinton makes around 10 million euros a year doing so. So
worth doing.
Could be worth getting into.
We'll see if President Sarkozy makes the same. But finally, we're going to go to a really amusing story that's happened here in France. A French woman who's racked up a really quite monstrous phone bill.
Yes, poor old Solène Saint-José. Not only did she lose her job because she'd lost her job, she then cancelled her phone subscription. And the next month, she got a bit of a surprise bill. In fact, it took her a while to work out the number. There it is. See if you can work out what that is. It took us a while, but it's nearly 12 quadrillion euros, I believe.
I don't think I've ever seen quite that many zeros.
It'd take you a while to pay off. But she phoned the company, Bouygues Telecom. They said, well, they don't make mistakes. It's all done automatically. It's on the computer. Must be true. They offered her to pay it in instalments, worth 6,000 times France's annual GDP. But now it has been cancelled, so it's all ended.
She's not still paying it off then.
Don't worry.
Her and her grandchildren might have quite a way to go with that. Thanks very much indeed, William Edwards, for that look at today's business news. That's all from us for now, but don't go away. Catherine Norris-Trent will be here in just a moment with all the day's top stories. Do stay tuned for that after the weather.